The morning of June 16, 1986 was no different than any other, except that Officer Amadei, a police de frontier of high rank, was preparing to carry out his duty to detain and deport illegal immigrants. He went to Hamod Dupont and started to arrest people. He and his aide were brutal about it, and as St. Martiners attempted to defend their rights, they were hit several times. Young and old were hit over the head, producing injuries and open wounds. This angered the children and parents of the victims to a point of retaliation. It is widely known that if you meddle with one local French, man or woman, you will have to face up to the entire family and in some cases the entire population. This is an actual event that took place on the streets of Saint-Martin in June of 1986. The scenes are actual footage of the 1986 riot of Saint-Martin. In June of 1986, the history of Saint-Martin was marred on this street, La Rue de Liberté. The population of St. Martin was displeased with the manner in which the police de frontier was carrying out their raids on illegal immigrants. Several government as well as private vehicles were burnt in protest.
And what happened, they started out in Hamod Dupont and they collected local St. Martiners, and there is where the problem, the crust of the problem created. I was in Phillipsburg that morning, and I was called that there was an emergency. And when I arrived, that time the gendarmerie, the whole gendarmerie was in the place that they utilized, and it was a total mob. I think that the people reacted justly, in a sense where you can't abruptly pick up people without asking them for their identity. The people must be able to identify themselves. As a Martiner normally, you know him. I mean, we St. Martin know each other. You don't even have to ask your name, you know him. But if you have a person comes from abroad, and which you're doing your job as controlling immigration, you need to ask people for their identification, and that's where the problem created. I think it's one of the worst things ever happened to the French side. 7 cars was burned. We had to take him out by a helicopter, Caroline and his second man. And it created a bad atmosphere because the whole town was disturbed. And you know, this type of disturbance, especially when you start to burn cars on the street, violence is really the thing that you look at. And that you don't need in this type of society.
Definitely not, yeah.
So it will touch the social situation very intense. And that I don't think we have ever got over it. The St. Martin still had that deep down in his mind that he has been trampled on.
They beat up our man Soko. You know, that's our man that everybody know here. That's our man that don't knowledge with nobody. I don't know, because they're asking for papers. Yeah, they're taking for action, they're asking for papers. Most of the St. Martin people don't need to carry papers, you know. They beat up, they push my mother, the chief of the police pushed my mother. Amadei. Yeah. Yeah. We all burn fire. All right.
I heard that violence was used. The late Soko, the old man that was beaten.
Yeah. Well, you know, in this situation, a lot of emotion comes out on people. And I was not part of the beating. I don't know too much about that. I know that there was a couple of people pushed around and aggressed. But at the end, I think that it was clear in the mind of the police that they could not do things the way they wanted them. Why did you do that for?
shut up. What are they doing that for?
You know, they come up picking up, strangers.
Yeah.
You know, well, when everybody see this action, everybody go on the see. They meet up John wife and whole she for Haitian. So when she children hear about it, they gone. So I went up too. So they start to discuss coming down. And when we turned the corner, two of them had a mine level down on the ground and I take up a rock. When I made through the whole hand, and they threw me down on the ground. When they threw me on the ground, and they come over, you people like just inside there.
Put on the head so the camera could see. Yeah. You could get all of that, yeah.
How many stitches you got here?
4.
How many? 4 stitches?
Yes.
What happened?
It has never happened again. They have never gone into, they do their job routinely, not as efficient as I'd like to see them do. But what I'd like to see really is that the immigration officers don't pick up people that are working, but all of those stragglers who are committing to all the different felonies, whatever they might be, whether they're crime or petty crime, whatever it is. I think that those are the people that I go after. I go after the people that didn't come here to look for a job, but came here to live and to loaf. And whether the men or women are the same to me. I think that that's the type of people. But a person with a job, I don't see why we as St. Martiners should be against anybody that could find a job.
On June 17th in 1986, there was a riot in Marigot, and that was because of Officer Amadei and his boss, who were treating the people very, very bad. If you take time to go back to 1986, what was the worst thing that came to your mind during that riot?
That the people must realize, you put the government there, the government have to do what they think is best. Then when they got an election, when they don't have, they didn't go there in place unless you had put in there.
No, I'm talking about a riot, right? You remember when they were burning?
You put the government there. Yeah. The government is placed by you. You wait till the time comes to take them out. And they are not doing the right.
So some old people like Soko, who has died, the late Soko was beaten by the immigration officers. A young boy by the name of Jack Hamlet was beaten. And so the people started to riot because these immigration officers were beating up on locals who are actually from here.
What I will go much further to tell you, they send immigration people here that don't know the people. So the immigration attacks each and every one and anybody, and these things are wrong.
Yeah, of course. Why hit people?
Government do not have the right to hit people. You hold them, you talk to them, and you caution them.
Have we learned anything from that riot?
Well, many things. I learned that St. Martin people must get together and stand up for their right.
There was a riot in Marigot, and you were very involved in that. You were standing on the balcony of the gendarmerie shouting to people. How did you get involved in this situation?
Well, let me first begin by informing you that the reason of I getting involved in this event, is that my son has been struck by one of the police, one of the immigration guys, and this is the reason why I've been involved. And this is, for me, the main reason. I mean, this is my child. He's been ill-treated by one of the police guys, and I have to get involved in this. And this again put us back to think on the guy that hit my son was the guy that, according to the population, he was like most wanted for the wrongdoings and all of the injustice that he has caused on the island where strangers is concerned.
Yet he was an official.
And there was a great joy for the people at that day to see that finally there's somebody that's in front of this man and demand justice.
Je ne vais pas attendre que le pape est parti. Moi, je vais voir le pape parti, moi, avec mes deux yeux. Je n'aime pas attendre les choses. Je vais le voir. Moi, je vais voir que le pape est parti. That's what you want. That's what you want to say. Kick the mother. That's the ball where it goes. Martin, invasion force, Botswana Lesotho.
Guy for stranger, you know. So they just, four of them just jump on me and just start to blow. Yeah, blow.
Let's get back now to the situation with your son being struck. What happened? They walked up to him, asked him for papers, he didn't present them, and he was hit. How did that work?
No, I guess he was around. He was at that time present to some kind of movement where, as a St. Martino, he found that this what was going on was terribly wrong. And he probably intervened as to say, hey man, listen, you should treat these people a little better than that. They're human beings. And this guy from the police or immigration, he just feel that he didn't have anything to say, and he shot him.
When you saw the cars being burnt, the people in the streets rioting, what went through your head as a concerned Samaritan, because I know you are?
That moment, if I have to live that moment again, I will tell you the truth. At that moment, it was a very dark side in my mind, because I remember when I was speaking to the sous-prefect, and I called him out on his balcony. I said, look, here's the first fire. There will be a second, there will be a third, and this would be probably part of my will go down tonight. So this was not, I must tell you the truth, it was not a moment of joy. It was just a moment that we had to face. We had to face in this situation due to what took place. Yeah. And I must say the truth that it was not a pretty scene.
Yeah. It was in June 17th of 1986 that I saw you with a big bump on your head, and you were struck by, I believe, Officer Amadei, for whatever reason. Now, that's what we're here for, that you can explain us what happened. What happened on that day?
Well, of course, you're taking me back at least 12 years. On that particular morning, there was a morning I'll never forget, and I heard that immigration officers was in the neighborhood, you know, running behind people running out in the back of my mother and my father's house. So I went out really to see what was happening, and when I got some news that the immigration officer had held my aunt, you know, and when I got there, I saw them choking her from behind with his knee in her back. So then I walked up to him and I said, listen, this is my aunt, she's from here, this is a wrong thing that you're doing. And all that happened after that was like, bow, straight in the face, and then I got a lick over the eye, and that was it.
Then your father got into action. What do you remember of this?
Well, by the time I got back home, you know, the news was already spread that the immigration officer hit me, and then, you know, my father just picked up, we tried to see if we could stop them in the area itself where this event took place, which was in Hamadopon. But by the time we got there, and then the immigration officer, I mean, he knew me, for a matter of fact, because I took stuff for him already in Guadeloupe to his family. And by the time he got the message that his Hamlet's son, and that he realized that he knew me, he tried to get out of the area, so he was unable to block them in the area itself. And this is when all the action come down and took place in Marigot.
Yeah. When you look back at the fires, the cars burning, you yourself being hit, when you were struck, what went through your head at that time, if you can remember?
Well, to be honest, I think about this every day, and I wonder if I was at the age that I am today, I probably wouldn't be still here talking to you, you know, because the transition from that age or younger, you know, it's a different thing. But I was thinking on a lot of things. I was thinking on look is what happening now to St. Martin people, the way we treated. I was thinking on look what this guy did to me. Am I going to ever see again through his eye? And I was really frustrated. And to be honest, I wanted to hit him back. I really wanted to hit him back. That, I mean, as a young man, you're 19 years old. You know, you wanted to get back a crack at the guy that hit you such a lick.
Yeah. When you look at the old gentleman that we know as Soko, what do you think of an officer hitting an old man like that?
Yeah, that was no reason. He had no reason at all in hitting Soko. He just was this bully of the time, the immigration bully you call him, and he wanted to show everybody that he's Ahmadin. He rule things, you know.
Yeah. We want a one way stop road. We want a barrier.
Aldo, listen, I can tell you one thing to do. You don't when you talk to them. So I get on the radio and make the people in St. Martin to understand your decision you have with them. And if they don't fulfill your demand, you will stay in the back of me and we will go we want to. No? We want satisfaction. That's what we want. We want equal rights. I'm not in charge of the institution. I'm not in charge. He is just like Riot. Riot is the most powerful man in Ghana. So what's the he is in charge of it.
But you say that this incident of June 1986 was a bulldozer for situations in St. Martin in terms of you have fixed the problem?
Well, I think that if you look at the obscure of it, yes, you could say that. But again, as I mentioned, those type of bulldozing does not solve the problem. It creates a problem that is an eternal problem of confrontation.
If you look back at that situation today, which is 12 years past, as a matter of fact, yes, it is 12 years past, how would you sum it up? In terms of St. Martiners defending themselves, because I believe that's what they were doing.
Well, basically, the way it happened, it took the St. Martin at a surprise situation where the immigration began to pick up St. Martin. And one of the things, do I just be very clear with the French side, when you touch one St. Martin, you better touch all, because all of them are going to come down on you.
That's definitely.
And that's one thing that I give my people very much credit for. We are now going through a similar situation, and I am out there appealing to my people to stand firm and stand together, because we are the minority in our country, and if we don't stand firm today, we will never be able to recuperate from the invasion that we have on us.
The gallery of the gendarmerie became the podium for Mr. Hamlet, and he tried frantically to calm down the marauding crowd. instrumental in getting Amadei off the island? Were you also instrumental in getting, as a matter of fact, you got Amadei off this island that very same day. Were you also instrumental in getting the other people to replace the officials that were ill-treating the St. Martiners?
No, we had in 1986, we had one devil, was Amadei and his boss. And those two people is the two people that I personally wanted off of St. Martin, off of this island on that particular day, June 17. And this was done.
When you spoke to the sous-prefet, were you acting on behalf of yourself or on French citizenry in order to get the person's name was Mr. Amadei or
Amadei?
Yeah. Were you solely representing your son or the people in general?
No, this is another thing that is a very good question. And these circumstances, I don't believe that the person at that moment thinks about his son or his brother or his sister. I believe that at that moment you're thinking about the population. In my head at that moment I was thinking about the population. I was thinking about justice for one and all. So my son at a certain time he even doesn't think who it is. The problem is you have to get this situation solved. Right. So we had to put aside son or brother or whatnot, and we're talking in general. This man has been doing too many wrong things on the island to have him stay, you know.
Yeah. And there were complaints filed against him before this whole incident.
Definitely, there was hundreds of complaints filed before for all his wrongdoing.
Right. I understood also that, and we have him on tape, Mr. Soko, I believe his name was.
Solange Arundel.
Right.
The deceased.
He was known as.
He was known as Soko.
Yeah. And he was also struck. I mean, he's an elderly man. Why did they hit him?
Well, this is the same thing I tell you as we talked a while ago, that the people, this man, in particular, this man, Amadei, he had no respect for nobody. He had no respect for young, old, nobody. He just feel that he was the big dictator, and he does what he wants, and that's the way this aged man came to be struck by this man.
Right. Now, you were involved on the balcony of the gendarmerie. And after this took place, they went to his apartment and emptied all of the stuff, threw them over the balcony and all of that stuff. What do you think of that?
When you saw me on the balcony, this is when negotiation was on the table. And at that particular moment, I was asking the high authorities, which is the prefect and the sous-prefect, to remove these two gentlemen, which is Amadei and his boss, remove them from the island today, that day, not the day after, but that particular day I wanted these two people to be removed from St. Martin, and there was sufficient proof to the government that it's a serious case, and if we don't get these two men off St. Martin today, then there could be more trouble. So when I realized that the negotiation was going in the right direction, my duty at that time was to calm down the people, come out on the balcony, explain to people there's no sense going any further with this manifestation, no more fire, no more this, no more that, because we are going to gain satisfaction. And that's the reason why you see me in the gallery making peace, calming down the tension, because satisfaction is on the way.
Are you also involved in politics?
I have been involved in politics.
Okay. At that time, were you?
At that time, yes, I have been involved in politics.
All right. So you could move the people on political background, but I think you more did it on a personal background.
Yes, I wouldn't take politics I wouldn't involve politics in that day. I believe that day was something special. This was more human reaction, and not a political reaction.
Yes.
But I have been involved in politics. But believe it, that day there was no politics involved.
Yeah, give me the mic. Why not? Give me the mic, just something like that. Wait.
From this location, a disappointed and frustrated crowd raided the apartment of Amadei. He was the reason this riot started in the first place. Retaliation was the only satisfaction the public of Saint-Martin could get. Almost all of Amadei's personal effects were either thrown from the balcony or carried away by an angry mob. We are in 1998. Things have changed. I have still seen certain things occur on the French side, and people block the entrance of Marigot, and up here in Hameau du Pont, I believe, or a little further up, they block. So people are still active and are not satisfied with certain situations, and they take action. But never to the effect that it was taken then. Do you think that we are going forward?
I don't want to. Let us not take 1996 and measure the time with 1998.
Okay.
I want to be very, very, very careful with this.
Okay.
I don't want to get involved or to express myself on what is happening now.
Opposed to what?
Opposed to what happened in 1986.
Yeah.
There's two different times. We have time to see a generation reach to maturity.
Definitely.
So I have to be careful measuring these two different times. And I would not like to get involved with what is happening now with the recent manifestation.
Yeah. All right, let me rephrase my questions then. Perhaps I should ask you, has the government, in terms of immigration policies, in terms of carrying out their jobs, changed the situation since 1986?
Here again is a very delicate question. 1986, according to me, according to what was taking place, the immigration situation has not been as it is today. Today, since then, we have seen a period of time where there was a possibility of having immigrants get in order, get papers fixed, and you name it, so they can be more tranquil on the island. And those days, what we're talking about in 1986, we didn't hear anything about getting papers in order. The people just lived. So there's a different situation. And I don't want to get too much involved in answering questions that I cannot master.
All right.
You got to understand me.
Of course, of
You got
course.
to understand me.
Mr. Hamlet, I want to thank you so much for your time and explanation, your input in this evening's program and documentary, because no matter how we look at a situation like this, it is part of our history now. Whether you look at it from the southern or the northern section of the island, it's one island, one people, one unity, and it is St. Martin. And so we need to manifest these things, we need to document them, and we need to look back at situations in order to go forward. I always believe that my past makes my presence, and so in order for me to make a good judgment of what and how I would like to live life, I always like to look back at the past of a certain people or a certain nation in a country, or sovereign nation for that matter. Do you believe that the people of St. Martin own the island? Have their own island?
The people of St. Martin, there is two phases on that question. There's two, I can develop two pictures.
Okay.
Own the island is a big question. You own what? We are born St. Martiners. This is our country.
Yes.
But you have to look at it, if you want to own, when you own a country, if the St. Martin people tomorrow has to say that we own St. Martin, this means that in various respect, we own it. And they tell you, you know that when you own a country economically,
That's it, right?
when you control the economy, when you control the employment, when you control the banks, when you control everything, then you can say, I own this country.
Honest. Yeah.
But there's one thing we must not run from, is that this is our country. We're born here. This is our land. But if you look at it on another aspect, you've got to ask yourself a question, who really owns this country? Who runs this country? Because we don't have the economic clout of this island. This is the way I look at it.
What advice can you give youngsters growing up today for situations that may face them equal to what happened to you in '86?
Well, the first thing that I preach, and I still tell it to a lot of young fellows, if they go into the army and they get a chance, try come back home and work in the immigration department. Because if we have local people in the immigration department, these kind of things for sure won't happen. Because then you know who you're dealing with, you know your people, you know what job you got to do and stuff like that. So we should try to integrate more of our young people in our local activity business. I mean, you could go to the bank today, you can't get a loan because the person who's supposed to sign the loan doesn't know you. And it's a whole lot of problem. This is the problem that is hurting St. Martin people right now.
So you're saying more of the metropolitans are coming down here and taking over key jobs where it's making it more difficult for locals to operate?
Well, I'm not going to base only on metropolitans, but I'm basing on the fact that we're not in the position that we're supposed to be in. You know, and this is why I always say that if you know you're going to open a bank and you're going to need workers, send St. Martin people on training before you open the bank. Don't open the bank and then look for people. Eventually it's going to be people from other countries that have the skill. So I just, the advice is to get involved in positions that you know your people. It's a know your people thing, and then, you know me. I'm not saying because I know you I have to give you a loan, but I could dig up more in your background and know where to find you. You know, I feel like we are suffering here from a lot of things that happen from different people, and local people are just carrying the burden today.
Jack, thank you very much for your input. And do you have any side effects from the blow you got to your head?
Well, I suffered with my eyes from the time I was a child. I had real bad eyes, and the leg that I had, I was kind of scared that it really could affect me more. But unfortunately, it did not. I feel pretty good today. Fortunately, I feel good. You know, it doesn't really bother me. The only thing is that I got satisfaction. The people of St. Martin got satisfaction. And I say, immigration department should treat people as human beings. I mean, you know, you can't just run around and do people things that because you're immigration and they're foreigners. You know, we got to live. You know what I mean?
What about flashbacks?
Sometimes it come back now and then, you know. But you got so much different news that the guy did this and he died and he this and he that. But you know, it's all behind. And I think that what we got to do is try. Like you said earlier, you gotta know your past to know where you're going. But sometimes you gotta leave certain things under the closet in order to succeed in life. Like I am a person, I have no problem with nobody. I just, you know, I always say that your liberty stops where mine begin. And as long as people could do this for me and leave me live and I let you live, then I won't have no problem with nobody.
Very well said. Thank you very much, Jack. Much success.
Thank you.
Take good care of your father. He's a smart man.
Okay, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
And one of the things, do I just be very clear with the French side, when you touch one St. Martin, you better touch all, because all of them are going to come down on you.
That's definitely
and that's one thing that I give my people very much credit for. We are now going through a similar situation, and I am out there appealing to my people to stand firm and stand together, because we are the minority in our country, and if we don't stand firm today, we will never be able to recuperate from the invasion that we have on us.
Now, the films that were taken from June 1986 with those riots, I would love to talk to the prosecutor general, but of course he's
No. That prosecutor, there were 4 of them after him. They change prosecutor every 3 to 4 years.
All right. Even if I was to talk to the prosecutor of today, the evidence on those tapes, are those people still eligible to prosecution?
No. But basically he would not answer you, because basically it was not his case. And he would tell that it's something that is filed and they don't dig up, unless it's a really criminal case.
Is this termed as criminal?
No.
It's not termed as criminal.
It's called as a mistake coming from the part of the immigration officers.
All right. Now
that was the finalization of the prefect position at that time.
So it's actually a dead case right now.
Right now it's a dead case.
Yeah. But again, our history must be told and must be recorded.
Must be told. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Been a pleasure.
Very, very much.
Police municipal qui peut de police ici, il y a les polices municipales.
A country as small as St. Martin cannot afford to demerit its reputable name. It is, however, a pity and a paradox that those in authority will only give attention in times of crisis, sometimes even when it's too late. At the same time, let me hasten to say, we as a people will not sit back and allow anyone to take advantage of our brothers and sisters. All of us have felt the improper conduct and treatment of some individuals who feel they are the law rather than enforcing the law in as a humane manner as possible. We will continue to learn as long as we live. May God give us wisdom and understanding to love one another and to stop backstabbing and spreading false rumors of each other. We cannot and will not progress as a nation and people should we continue with this malpractice. Believe me, it simply won't work. The window to opposition and untimely destruction will always be opened wide by high-ranking officials who feel they can take the law in their own hands. Rather than apply gentleness and peaceful action, they choose to brutalize and deny persons their human rights and equality of arms. In many, if not all cases pertaining to violent behavior by any population, student body, or civilians, you will find one of the following: that high-ranking officials, studied persons of academic level, do not know how to apply their acquired academic skills and knowledge in practical situations, yet they feel they know it all. That the common citizens, when faced by one of these professionals, are seen as inferior in knowledge and understanding. They are not given the chance to express themselves, let alone make a suggestion. That the common citizen have no other alternative than to defend himself by all means possible, his human rights, equality of arms, and status in his or her community. Know your past. Remember those who have suffered for your emancipation, freedom of speech, and most importantly, equal human rights. Uncle Toms will only live a short and regretful life. We acknowledge President Nelson Mandela, the late Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Steve Biko, Mahatma Gandhi, and the Chinese students who gave their lives and freedom on Tiananmen Square, for their drive and determination to stand and face the demonic regimes who tried to dominate the little man and woman. As little as we are, we too have rights.